Hello learners of B.Ed, Bachelor of Education, Language Pedagogy, Language Across Curriculum. Welcome to the discussion on home language and school language, deficit theory and discontinuity theory. Learners, in our previous discussions we have seen how Indian education scene is multilingual and multicultural. There are more than 2 or 3 languages in any classroom in Indian context. You go to any classroom and children come from different language from their home, and school language is different and the medium of instruction is different. There are a lot of complexities and very diversified scenes. Today we will discuss that. And I am R. Meghanathan from the Department of Education and Languages, NCERT, New Delhi. Learners, we hope that we have to understand the school scene context first in order to become a good teacher. So, that is why today's discussion takes into consideration the importance of home language in educating children in school. See, why home language matters, and if the school language is different from home language, what are the problems and how children are treated with the different languages. So, this is called deficit theory and discontinuity theory. Let me begin with some of the examples from across the country, 3 examples, 3 illustrations, in a way 3 case studies from different parts of the country. Look at it. Let us read about some children. Kavita is a Gondi mother tongue learner in Telangana. She is in class 2 and school teaches her in Telugu medium. Telugu and English are taught as first and second languages respectively. Gondi language is spoken at home and in her neighborhood, Kavita's neighborhood. Telugu is spoken in market and other places. Few learners like her speak Gondi in her classroom and in the school. Textbook is the only place where she can find Telugu at home. Her teachers tell her parents that she is not learning Telugu and English. They should speak to her in Telugu at home, not in their mother tongue. This is number 1 case. Look at the second case. Irfan is Urdu mother tongue learner in the western Uttar Pradesh. He is in class 4 and the school teaches him in the medium of Hindi. Hindi and English are taught as first and second languages respectively. Hindi is his first language in the school and second language is English, but actually his mother tongue is Urdu. Urdu is spoken at home and in his neighborhood. He is able to speak Hindi well like Urdu, because there is not much difference in the spoken and Hindi and Urdu. He finds it slightly difficult in writing in Devanagari script. His teachers want him to practice more in writing Hindi so that he would not fail in Hindi examination. They called his parents and said that. One more child. Amit Kumar studies in an English medium school in Delhi and his parents work in a factory. They do not know English very well. They may be able to read a bit. Amit's teachers tell him that he should improve his spoken English. His parents do not know what to do and plan to send him to a private coaching place to learn English. These 3 cases, prospective teachers, what do these children lack, or do they lack anything at all? Is it the fault of those children not being the mother tongue speaker of the dominant language of the region, which happens to be the language of the school? Or did they decide a particular language as their home language or school language or mother tongue? We do not have choices in many of the things. We can't choose your parents, you can't choose your mother tongue, you can't choose the place where you were to be born. So, they were born into your mother tongue, to a particular set of parents that they did not have in their hands. Do they really lack anything do they really lack anything behind their peers whose language happen to be the dominant language or the language of the school? Then why do their teachers tell their parents they should learn this language more than your language, in a way forget your language, get a culture to the new school culture? This is what we call deficit theory learners. It assumes that these learners coming from socio-economically disadvantaged and minority language homes show a lack of verbal stimulation and enter school without necessary linguistic resources for success. Let me read out again. We assume that school and the teachers and the whole community assumes, the community middle class or the upper middle class, these children come with disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? One is the socio-economically disadvantaged situation. Of course, they are maybe not so rich as others are, and they come from the lower strata of society, socially divided caste system or class system in the Western sense. Then they come with the language which is not the dominant language of the school. So, they lack something behind. This is what school assumes. These children labeled verbally deficient may actually be highly competent language user. However, they do not find themselves in a situation where they are able to demonstrate their specific language competence. When my language is not there, how can I am talking about the primary school before learning other languages. This is what Yeller Rebecca called it first in 1989 as deficit theory. So, the school and the teachers assume that these children do not possess the language which is the medium of instruction, which is the dominant language of the school. So, there is some deficiency there. So, what is the deficit? Not knowing the majority language of the classroom and the language of the medium of instruction. Is it a deficit of the child? Because the child is coming from a minority tribal language, the home language is different from the school language. They will ultimately learn the language, but this period is considered to be deficit by some systems, schools and also the teachers, which makes them further at the disadvantaged situation. So, these learners given opportunity to speak and work in their language would do very well. Suppose if their language is in school, they would be able to do much better. Where is the deficiency at all? If all learners learn in their mother tongue, and then move and add more languages, wouldn't they do well in their studies? Definitely. So, this deficit has to be bridged, the assumed or the real deficit. How to do that? So, this is, let us wait for some time, we will further delve into deficit theory. Then there is also discontinuity theory. What is the discontinuity? My language of the school, of the home, my language of the home is not continued in school. So, there is discontinuity, as a result of which I am considered as a child with some deficit like disability. Is that true? There is a difference between the way child is socialized at home, the way the school functions. At home they may be speaking in their dialect, their language and their food habits, their dresses, their way of behaving, which is socially accepted norm. They are not anything unlawful or, but school finds it difficult, oh, they are different people. Some learners do not know well the language of the school. So, my home language, the learner's home language is not considered an instrument at all, and in fact, when they come to school in classes 1 and 2 or pre-KG, they know only their mother tongue, the home language that is different from the language of the school. So, in which language they will be able to converse, talk to their peers and the teachers, then there is some discontinuity. This affects learners' self-esteem, confidence and also the language learning, more so learning of mathematics, environmental studies and other subjects. These learners feel a bit distanced in school as their language, cultural practices are not seen as something or seen as something alien. So, this is very dangerous in a way. So, their culture, language is seen as alien, and the school, teachers and other learners may see them as someone different from themselves. So, this makes them feel in a way inferior or low self-esteem. So, the discontinuity continues. When some children enter school, the differences in their functional use of language among culturally and linguistically diverse children have been found. When some children, there are about 40 children, maybe 10 children, 5 children in the school, they may belong to a particular minority community, linguistically or tribal community. When they find, oh, their language use is different, so they feel alienated. This results in discontinuity they experience. When all other children are in so-called mainstream, these children are away. So, they are in a way discriminated unknowingly, because the children come to school socialized to language in culture specific ways. So, particular ways they are socialized in their languages, and communication styles used by many children from culturally, linguistically diverse population is incongruent with that of teacher style of interaction, and most of the influences are from the teachers. We know that we are all going to be teachers and we are teachers. So, when we look at the particular child with a difference, there is some problem with that. So, how this discontinuity is continued in school, even teachers become one of the reasons for that. So, how one is the deficit, language deficit is considered to be deficit, even the same language speaker with from some different dialect, which is not considered to be as equal as that of the elite or the upper caste, upper class dialect from in the same language, may be considered somewhat alien. So, how to overcome this? So, one is deficit, another is discontinuity. This is described as discontinuity between home and school language socialization patterns. It negatively impacts on the academic achievement of children. These children feel alienated and may have low self. Some of them drop out of the school or pushed out of the school. We need to now use the term children are not dropping out on their own, because no parent today wants their children out of school, at least up to class 8th and class 10. We know that education for all efforts all over the world and kind of social political awareness has created a feeling among children and parents particularly that my child should be in school. So, children are not dropping out learners, they are pushed out of the school. And for those who continue to carry, so children who do not drop out and continue, they carry the cumulative disadvantage of the deficit and discontinuity. This is what Amartya Sen calls from economic development. So, people with some sort of deficiency means disadvantage of welfare, wealth, it is being carried generation after generation. Generally, it is said in economics, intergenerational poverty is really dangerous, meaning my father was poor and I also continue to be poor because I didn't get education, or I didn't get the right things at right point of time. This is going to be dangerous for any society, any nation. So, that is what is happening with these children. It becomes accumulated. So, how to overcome this? So, added to this is the cultural discontinuity. What is cultural discontinuity? Cultural discontinuity refers to lack of cohesion between two or more cultures. So, I am from a tribal home, I am from a different language home, I am from a different religious home or caste. Then when I come to school, there I find completely a kind of new kind of culture, different kind of language, style of functioning, eating, clothing. Then I find that, oh, my culture from home is not continued in school. So, how can I find comfortable in the classroom? So, how a teacher and the classroom can help the children, not only the disadvantaged children, the children from upper caste and others to overcome this discontinuity and deficit and work together to learn and perform better, so that they become contributing citizens of this country. The day-to-day practices at home and the perceived practices of school makes them feel the hierarchy in school and in society. There are two things happening. See, I bring my culture, my language to school, when something not so good as felt in school, but the school has altogether a different thing. Then I am being alienated. Then there is a hierarchy. Oh, the society has to be hierarchical, in the classroom is hierarchical, and I have to accept it. No. So how this discontinuity can be discontinued? Food habits, dressing, festivals, language, etc. all are different in one way from the mainstream culture to my culture. Is a school a carrier or perpetuator of those discontinuities, or is the school to transform these children mindset and make, this is the India is a diversified country, multicultural, multilinguistic, multi-religious. There are a lot of different, but they are all equal. That's what Indian Constitution assures to every citizen of India. Your practices, your religion, your way of living, your way of dressing is fine as long as it never violates law. So you are born equal citizen, so not to worry about anything. So how school can promote that? So Burton and others defined it as deprivation hypothesis. The socio-linguistic view that some children are linguistically handicapped because they belong to a social group or some groups which have poor linguistic repertoire. Meaning, let's take the minority tribal languages like Gonti, Kavita's language there, and many languages like Tulu, one of the Dravidian languages, and even Sindhi. So these people, in some context, Urdu also in parts of some of the North Indian states, and Northeast children in Delhi or South Indian children in Delhi, they feel handicapped because their linguistic, social groups, the linguistic repertoire, the knowledge they bring, the language they bring, the literature they bring is not equivalent to that of the school offers. That's what they are deprived of practicing that culture and language in school. This will have greater impact on the self-esteem of children. So Bernstein again looks at the deficit theory to be a set of propositions which attempt to account for educational failures by locating its origin solely in the surface features of the child's family and local community. Sometimes say, some children, their parents are illiterate, so they can't do. In that case, why are schools there at all? Schools have to teach all children equally, support those children who need more support, because the home and the parents may not support, will not be able to support at home. So how can an ideal school support that? Let me also look at it, how can we reduce this deficit and discontinuity? We have seen deficit because my language is different and my culture is not discontinued, my language is not continued. So how can we reduce all this? Bring the languages of learners, all mother tongues to school. We have been, since independence, we have been experiencing how difficult it is for school system and states to bring all the mother tongues to school, at least up to primary years or up to elementary, that is up to class 8th. Why is it so? We have Article 350A of the Constitution, which ensures that all children belonging to minority languages have the right to study their language in the school, and district magistrate, district collector has to ensure it, even if there are few children, one child. Three language formula begins that the first language has to be mother tongue or home language of the child. We have not been able to do that. Hundreds of mother tongues are yet to find a place in school education. If all mother tongues are not taught in school, what to do? It's better to use their languages and their dialects in the classroom, some form or other. We will see further how we can do that. How are these ways and means we can do that? And we have discussed in our previous episodes, lectures, translanguaging as a pedagogy. Use the languages of children. Let them use. You need not use as teachers because you may not know all the languages of children. How to use it? So, let children use. You tell a story in the common language. Let children tell their story, the same story in their languages. And let their culture to be brought into school. Reduce hierarchy in school. What is the hierarchy? The first and foremost hierarchy is teacher is the knowledge giver. Teacher knows everything, he will be transferring the knowledge. It's called banking theory, Paulo Freire calls it. So, teacher is not the knowledge giver, teacher is the co-participant in the act of learning. What is the act of learning? Children and teacher together negotiate the syllabus and curriculum textbook and learn. Then that is your achievement, where all children feel equal. And let's not forget teachers, there is no teaching without learning. Paulo Freire says in his Teachers as Cultural Workers, this is the book. So why? I have taught hundreds of hours, but no learning has taken place. Then what is the fun in it? What's the purpose? Purpose is defeated. So ensure that we are teaching for learning, and there is no teaching without learning. So this concept, this is our premise, and I think that we can achieve equality of opportunity in school. Further, how can we reduce the deficit and discontinuity in school from home? Design bilingual textbooks, multilingual textbooks. It's not that the national level agencies like NCERT or state level agencies like State Council of Educational Research and Training, they only have to do. Even teachers at the school level, there's a textbook, let us create in your language. Use the children from higher classes to create for lower classes. Display the scripts of all languages of the learners on the walls and the classroom, so that my language script is there. There are languages without script. Let these children tell the story in their languages. Bring in the cultures and cultural practices and artifacts of learners into school and classroom. Let's have an exhibition. Let's have a history museum, social science museum. Let's have cultural programs in which their dance, their plays and their acts are on. And there may be a food festival in which let them bring their food and cook in the school. Design tasks and activities wherein learners work together, group work, pair work and collaborative learning. Meaning, put those children, generally you can see the many of the classrooms in our research studies also said the children who belong to a particular class or section of society, upper middle class, they sit together. And you can find that socio-economically disadvantaged children are at the back of this classroom. So, can we regroup the classroom into groups and pair work? Let there not be any static room allocated to children, no. So, every day let classroom change, dynamics change, on rotation, group, and in teaching group work, pair work. And this leads to collaborative learning and each one will understand the other. It is learning to know the other. Within the small, and classroom is the small world, small nation, small society. Okay, reducing the deficit further and discontinuity, let all children feel, this is what Paulo Freire says, their language is as rich and beautiful as the educated norm, and therefore they do not have to be ashamed of the way they talk. Generally what we do, even within English language, if someone pronounces, accent is slightly different and the whole class or the teacher tries to correct it, and then no two speaker speak exactly the same way, whether it is Hindi, the mother tongue Hindi speaker, or Tamil speaker, Malayalam speaker, Marathi speaker, Gujarati, Punjabi, what else and what not. And particularly in English, each mother tongue speaker speaks English differently. For example, let me tell you, speakers from Tamil Nadu may pronounce ma as m, and Bengalis and Odia speakers will speak ba as va as ba, something like that. So, this is the influence of mother tongue. What is important is whatever I speak, the listener has to decode and understand very well. This is what we call it intelligibility. If I speak in English, if I call it a book, some may say book, but let the listener understands it's fine. And in case needed, children can correct themselves. This is what, let them be made confident that my language is as good as important as any language. Then look at it, most important purpose of schooling is transforming the society into a democratic citizenry. The democratic school should not only be permanently open to its students' contextual reality, in order to understand them better and to exercise its teaching activity better, but it should also be disposed to learn of its relationship with concrete context, meaning a school, an ideal school for an Indian democracy which promotes democratic citizenry should really make them feel, schools should understand the contextual reality. What is the contextual reality? I am a tribal child. I am a child from scheduled caste or scheduled tribe. I am a child from upper caste. I am a child from middle caste. I am from another religion, Christianity or Islam, Jainism. But that is the contextual reality. Accept it and also see that they create a concrete relationship among all these categories, so that authentic humanism, we will come to that later, so that a kind of harmony is imbibed. Let us not forget, it was Kothari Commission in 1964-66, it said, national integration cannot be built by bricks and mortars. It has to be nurtured in the classroom. So, the nurturance of harmonious life, peaceful coexistence can happen, as Paulo Freire says. So, we need to really understand that. This is what, let me take from here to authentic humanism. What is authentic humanism? Freire in 1990 said, authentic humanism is not humanitarianism. What is humanitarianism? Some corner of the world, some untoward event happens, earthquake or violence, flood, oh, we express our concern. That is humanitarianism. But what is authentic humanism? Don't sympathize, empathize with them, work with them. So, authentic humanism generously presents itself as a pedagogy of man. It is a pedagogy of man, pedagogy which begins with which begins not with egotic interest of the oppressors, an egoism cloaked in the false generosity of paternalism, an egoism cloaked in the false generosity of paternalism, and makes the oppressed the object of humanitarianism, itself maintains and embodies oppression. It is an instrument of dehumanization. So, we need to really promote authentic humanism, not humanitarianism. Humanitarianism is just sympathizing. So, we need to be really careful with sympathizing with these children. Rather, we have to be an emancipation kind of thing. That is what. So, learners, we have to be humanistic, not humanitarian. We have to be including all in the classroom. Let enabling, there must be some enabling condition in school. What are those enabling conditions? First of all, physically the child should feel secured. Second is, I also come from a good background, my parents are different, like other children, their parents are different, and I come from a different language, but I do get respect the way other children make it so. So, this can be achieved by an inclusive school, which our policies, national curriculum frameworks from independence to till now, including the National Education Policy 2020, advocates, recommends firmly, emphatically, bring all children in school, first and foremost, all children in school, education for all, whether you belong to any category, any corner of the world, any corner of the country, you are supposed to be in school. That is why we have brought out Right to Education Act. From when you are 3+ you are in school, and up to 16 you are in school. All children learn. Second thing, all children learn harmoniously. It is learner-centric and learning-centric education rather than teacher-centric, textbook-centric education. School as an instrument of transformation. School is not just a place to live. School is a society. Children talk and they understand, share each other, and they like, sometimes fight, quarrel to come to an understanding. So, school has to change children from what they bring, and with their investment transform them into a good citizenry, learned person with critical understanding of society. School, for which school, community, government work together. That is what we are doing. It is the government's efforts to ensure education for all, lot of welfare schemes, free textbooks, and continuous comprehensive assessment. A child is not. So, school, teachers, learners, and people in the community and governments, funding, everything happens. So, as a result of which, what could be possible? Greatly speaking, democratic citizenry is possible, equality of opportunity for all. This is how learners, a school can really become an inclusive school where deficit, the assumed deficit of children can be made into merit, and the discontinuity, the gap between home language, home culture and school culture can not only bridged, it can be broken, and children feel at school, I am in school, I am equal to everyone. My language is respected. So, this is what an ideal Indian democracy is expecting from school education and of course, university education there. So, learners, let me recall how we have been able to discuss the particular thing called deficit theory and discontinuity theory. You go to any school today, even the most sophisticated private schools or schools like Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan and Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, you will feel definitely this some children with assumed deficit, some children with extraordinary talents, merits, the school supports, the parents are educated English speaking parents, and some parents are illiterate still. This country still has illiterates even after 70-75 years of independence. We have not been able to eliminate illiteracy. So, we have been successful in providing education for all through various ways and means. However, there are, so if my parent, a particular child or some children feel, if my parent is not educated, is it my fault? I am born in the new world, democratic world. I need an education. I deserve to be treated the way all other children with all resources are treated. Now, how can we ensure this? Teachers, you are going to be teachers. The one and one way out is the classroom should give such a conducive and enabling atmosphere wherein all children feel I am learning, first of all. Second is I am treated equal. And school is a safe and secure place. My language is taught in school. Nobody stops me doing my educational learning venture. There is no fear in my learning in school. Let me tell you, a society which lets its children to be fearless in school and the university in the right sense will find a better democratic citizenry later. Children who are admonished in school, unnecessarily punished, later come out with a lot of guilt and shame and also anger at society. It's not, is it not the function of the society, the school, is it not the duty of the school to shape children into meaningful, normal, harmonious human beings, where they pursue their education and to become contributing citizens as well as good individuals, good sons, daughters, husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, and at the end of the day, a good human being. That is what Indian ethos has always been saying, that being good is very important. It is not that you are rich or not so rich, whether you hold a particular kind of vehicle or not. What is important is how I live, the righteous life. So, in order to bring the great Indian ethos, the value of leading a righteous life, which our scriptures like Thirukkural and many more scriptures advocate, need to really lay foundation in school by eliminating deficit, by eliminating discontinuity. It may be linguistic deficit, it may be cultural discontinuity, it may be esteem, social esteem, human and anthropological discontinuity or deficit. This has to be bridged and broken. If all this happen, we can claim to be providing an ideal, meaningful and engaging education to children. Learners, let us not forget, all of us have gone through schooling and university education. We remember and we nurture those good old days in which even we were punished along with the other good things. So, there was life in school. I feel that, and I revere my teachers because they were equal, they treated us very well. They never bothered about who our parents were. The same way we need not bother I have got my children of 45 children, 10 children, 15 children. I have to not only simply teach them languages, mathematics, science, physics, chemistry, biology, social sciences. No, I also have to teach them how to practice equality, how to respect others. That is the major implicit function of school, besides the explicit activities which I have mentioned. Let us look at some of the aspects we have discussed. We have discussed number 1, deficit theory. What is the deficit? Children belonging to particular linguistic, socio-linguistic minority communities, they are considered to be deficit because the school language is different from their home language. And we have found ways how we can overcome this. Then in discontinuity, culturally my culture is not continued in school and my language is not continued in school. How can I overcome this? School has to help it. One is we have also seen how school education can bring all the mother tongues of children. There are some activities like creation of bilingual, multilingual textbooks and group work, project work in which all children from various diverse background come together and work together. Then use the languages of children, have activities in which their cultural practices and food and everything is shared in school. But at the same time, teachers, let me underscore emphatically, don't play that charity role. Charity role means you sympathize with them and keep you are at the disadvantage, I am supporting you. No, this is all patronizing activity, a kind of thing that won't help much. Still these children may feel inferior. So, how to go with them, empathize with them, make them feel comfortable with others. This is a big task. That is what teacher is a change maker. Okay. Now, there are some tasks for you learners. Here are some questions you may think, reflect, ponder over and write in a kind of reflective note. Do schools and teachers treat all children equally in the classroom? If no, why? If yes, how? You may compare with your teachers. What are the major problems of today's schooling in terms of enabling all children learn? Why all children are not learning? You know that many reports, NCERT's National Achievement Surveys, then ASER report, every January it comes. It is really depressing to see some children, sometimes the report says that class 5 children are not able to write the words which are taught in class 2. So, why is this learning deficiency happening? Does caste play a role in the process of schooling? Caste is vibrant outside the classroom, in the society. Caste is practiced very well, and Indian constitution says caste practices like untouchability should be are banned and abolished. They are illegal, but still caste exists. But does caste play a role in the process of schooling? I am leaving it to you. You reflect and write from your experience as well as learners' experience. Is school an instrument of imbibing and promoting democracy? Children They have to be nurtured into a democratic citizens. Is school an instrument on this? If so, how? I'll stop it there. Learners, thank you very much for having participated in the discussion and discourse. You may refer to many more writings of Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Teachers as Cultural Workers, Pedagogy of Freedom, Pedagogy of the Heart, many more things. This is one important educational thinker we need to understand. And Krishna Kumar's writing on child language and the teacher, it's available online free also, soft copy, or you can buy it from National Book Trust India. And many of the publications of NCERT which addresses the issue of how to create an inclusive school, and language disadvantage by Dheer Jingran, and the works of Ajit Mohanty and Panda, Minadi Panda. Many more things are there, learners. It's up to you to go there. And here are some reading for you, which I have used in the discussion. And Amartya Sen's cumulative disadvantage, that is rationality and freedom. So let me stop it there. Thank you very much. We'll meet you in another episode on language pedagogy. Till then, take care.